Have you ever saved someone's life without knowing that 5 years later, you discover he was the only person who could steal your $500 million inheritance? On Halloween night 2019, I was 22 years old, driving my Mercedes down Park Avenue in Manhattan, heading home from a charity gala my father had forced me to attend. It was raining, that cold New York autumn rain that makes everything look like a noir film. And then, through the lights of skyscrapers reflecting on the wet asphalt, I saw something that shouldn't be there. A man, body, collapsed on the side of the road, blood spreading across the sidewalk, expensive suit torn, luxury watch still on his wrist. This wasn't a common accident. This was something planned. I stopped the car. Of course I stopped. Because despite growing up in Manhattan's elite, despite being the daughter of William Bennett, real estate billionaire, I still had a heart. Or at least that's what I thought back then. Got out of the Mercedes, my Valentino gala dress getting soaked in the rain, and ran to him. Knelt on the wet asphalt, not caring about the $20,000 dress. Because here was a human being dying, and money meant nothing compared to that. He was conscious, barely. Green eyes staring at me through the pain. Eyes I would never forget. "Don't move," I said, already grabbing my iPhone to call 911. "You've been attacked. You have wounds to your head and abdomen. Stay with me, okay?" He tried to speak, lips moving, but only a groan came out. Had stab wounds. Multiple. This wasn't a mugging. Muggers don't stab like this. This was attempted murder. 911, what's your emergency? There's a man on Park Avenue near 68th. He's been stabbed multiple times. He's bleeding heavily. I need an ambulance now. The operator asked questions. Many questions. Was he breathing? Yes, but with difficulty. How much blood? A lot. Too much. Were there witnesses? No, the street was strangely empty for Manhattan. What was I doing there? Heading home. Did I know the victim? No, just a stranger trying to save a stranger. I held his hand while waiting for the ambulance. His hand was freezing, covered in blood, trembling. "You're going to be okay," I said, knowing I might be lying. "Help is coming." "What's your name? Can you tell me your name?" He opened his mouth, whispered something I couldn't understand. It sounded like, "They found me," or "They'll come back." Who were they? What was happening here? Ambulance arrived in 4 minutes. Felt like 40. Paramedics jumped out, professional and fast, started working on him immediately, putting dressings on wounds, checking vital signs. One of them looked at me. "Do you know him?" "No, just found him like this." "You saved his life. 5 more minutes and he would have died from blood loss." Those words stayed with me. I saved his life. A complete stranger. On Halloween night. They put him on the stretcher, took him away, sirens cutting through the rainy night, and I stood there alone on Park Avenue, soaked with blood on my hands and on the Valentino dress I could never wear again. Called my driver. He picked me up. In the car, he asked what happened. "I saved someone's life," I said simply. "Someone that someone wanted to see dead." Went home to the family penthouse on the Upper East Side. My father was on a business trip, as always. My sister Madison was at some party, as always. I was alone in the $15 million apartment, taking a shower to wash the stranger's blood off my body, wondering who that man was and why someone had tried to kill him. The next day, I tried to find out. Called the hospital, Manhattan General. They couldn't give me information. HIPAA, privacy, all that protocol. Can I at least know if he survived? The nurse hesitated, then said softly, "The patient is in critical but stable condition. You saved his life." That was enough. He was alive. And maybe, just maybe, someday I'd find out who he was. But I didn't. Because 3 days later, there was an article in the New York Times. Rothschild fortune heir survives assassination attempt. Alexander Rothschild, 24 years old, heir to an investment empire valued in billions. Attacked on Park Avenue by unknown assailants. Saved thanks to unidentified Good Samaritan. Me. I was the Good Samaritan. And he was a Rothschild, rival family to mine. Our fathers hated each other, had competed for business for decades, and I had saved their heir's life. I didn't tell my father. Didn't tell anyone. Kept that secret like I kept so many other secrets of my privileged and complicated life. And moved on. Went back to Columbia University to finish my MBA. Started working at my father's company. Dated appropriate men my father approved of. Lived the life expected of me. And slowly, very slowly, forgot about the green-eyed man bleeding in the rain. 5 years passed. 5 years of corporate politics, gala dinners, charity events, and slowly climbing the hierarchy of Bennett Properties. My father trusted me, more than Madison, more than anyone. I was his, the perfect daughter, the chosen heir, or at least that's what I thought back then. Halloween, 2024, everything changed. My father died. Sudden heart attack in the office, 58 years old. Healthy, active. It didn't make sense, but autopsy confirmed. Heart. Natural. No signs of poisoning or violence. He just died and left me alone to deal with an empire I barely knew how to manage alone. The funeral was 3 days later. Everyone in Manhattan was there. Politicians, CEOs, socialites. And when I returned to the family lawyer's office for the reading of the will, I discovered something that would change everything. My father had left me $500 million, but there was a condition. A condition I had never imagined.
Sophia Bennett will inherit the entirety of the fortune and control of Bennett Properties under one single condition, the lawyer read, voice monotone. She must be married before she turns 28. Otherwise, the inheritance will be divided equally between Madison Bennett and designated charities. I looked at the lawyer like he'd lost his mind. Married? My father put a marriage clause in the will? Not just that, he continued, and I saw something in his eyes, something that looked like apology? The marriage must be to a member of a family approved by the board of directors. List of approved candidates is attached. He handed me a paper. A single name was on the list. Alexander Rothschild. I stared at the name. That name. The name. The Rothschild heir? The one I'd saved 5 years ago? The one whose family hated mine? This is a joke. I assure you, Miss Bennett, your father was quite serious. There's more. Of course there was more. Your father and Richard Rothschild made an agreement 30 years ago, a merger clause. If their children married, the two companies would merge, creating the largest real estate and investment conglomerate in North America. Your father has been planning this since you were born. My head was spinning. My father arranged my marriage? Like we're living in the 1800s? Not arranged, suggested. You have choice. You can refuse, but then you lose the inheritance. And if I agree, if I marry Alexander Rothschild, then you control both empires. $500 million from your father, access to Rothschild billions, joint control of two companies worth over $10 billion combined. The lawyer leaned forward, but there's a time limit. You turn 28 in 6 months. The wedding must happen before then, or everything goes to Madison. Madison, my sister, who'd been furious she wasn't named CEO, who'd made it clear she thought she deserved the company more than me, who would absolutely love to see me fail. Does Alexander know about this? The Rothschild family was notified this morning. Alexander is aware. And he's considering his options. I left that office in shock. Went home to the penthouse that was now mine, opened a bottle of my father's most expensive wine, and tried to process. My father had sold me, traded me like a business asset, paired me with a man I'd met once while he was bleeding on the street, a man whose family hated mine, a man who probably hated me by association. And I had 6 months to decide if I wanted $500 million badly enough to marry him. Called my best friend Victoria. "You're not going to believe what just happened." Told her everything. She was silent for a long moment. Then, "So you're saying you saved the life of a billionaire heir 5 years ago, and now you have to marry him to inherit your own money?" "That's exactly what I'm saying. That's either the most romantic thing I've ever heard or the most fucked up." "It's fucked up, Vic. It's completely fucked up. But also $500 million. Is that what I am? Someone who'd marry for money? You already saved him once. Maybe he'll remember that. Maybe he'll say yes." "But why would he? Why would Alexander Rothschild agree to marry the daughter of his father's rival? Unless the Rothschilds needed this merger too. Unless they had their own reasons, their own secrets, their own desperate need to make this work." 2 days after the will reading, I got a call from unknown number. "Ms. Bennett, this is Alexander Rothschild. I believe we need to talk." His voice, deep, calm, with an edge of something I couldn't identify. "Mr. Rothschild, I assume you know why I'm calling hasn't happened yet." "Because I called you first. Yes, we need to meet. Discuss this situation." "It's not a situation. It's blackmail. Our fathers are blackmailing us from beyond the grave." "Agreed, which is why we need to talk. In person. Tonight. There's a Halloween gala at the Met. I'll send you a ticket. Meet me there at 8. "I don't." "Please. I think you'll want to hear what I have to say." The gala, of course. Because nothing in New York high society happens without witnesses, without the performance, without the spectacle. I wore black Versace. Dramatic. Appropriate for both Halloween and a meeting that could determine my entire future. Arrived at the Met at 8 sharp. The place was transformed. Orange and black everywhere. Carved pumpkins, Gothic decorations. Hundreds of Manhattan's elite in elaborate costumes. I spotted him immediately. He spotted me. And for the first time in 5 years, we actually looked at each other. Really looked. He was tall, handsome in that refined way old money produces. Dark hair, sharp suit, and those eyes. Green. The same eyes that had looked at me through pain and fear 5 years ago, now they were looking at me with calculation. Assessment, trying to figure out if I was friend or enemy. He approached, extended his hand. "Sophia Bennett, we finally meet properly. Alexander Rothschild, how's your abdomen? No lasting damage from the stabbing?" He smiled, surprised. "You remember." "Of course I remember. I held your hand while you bled on Park Avenue. Not exactly forgettable." "No, I suppose not. Thank you. For that night, you saved my life. And now we're being forced into marriage because of it? Funny how fate works. Is it fate or is it manipulation?" He gestured to a quiet corner. "Let's talk, away from the crowd." We found a gallery room, temporarily empty. He closed the door. "My father died too, 3 months ago, also a heart attack, also sudden. Also suspicious." I felt ice run down my spine. I think our fathers didn't have heart attacks. I think they were murdered. And I think the same people who tried to kill me 5 years ago are behind it. What? Think about it, Sophia. Our fathers make a secret pact 30 years ago, agree to merge companies through our marriage. But someone doesn't want that merger to happen. Someone who benefits from the companies staying separate, weak, vulnerable. Who? I don't know yet, but I have suspicions. My brother Marcus, your sister Madison, they both stand to inherit if we don't marry. They both have motive. You think Madison murdered our father? I think someone did. And we're next on the list.
My hands were shaking. This is insane. This is New York. This is billions of dollars people have killed for less. He stepped closer. I'm going to be honest with you. I need this marriage as much as you do. My inheritance has the same clause. Marry you or lose everything to Marcus. We're in the same trap. So what are you suggesting? I'm suggesting we get married. For real. Legally. Publicly. We merge the companies like our fathers wanted. We take control of billions. And then we use those resources to find out who's trying to kill us. You want to marry me to solve a murder? I want to marry you to survive. The rest is just strategy. He pulled out a small box, opened it. Inside was a ring, massive, diamond, old setting, family heirloom. This was my grandmother's. She was married for 60 years. Happy marriage, real love. I don't expect us to have that, but I do expect us to be partners, equals. We protect each other, watch each other's backs, and maybe, just maybe, we find out who killed our fathers before they kill us. I looked at the ring, at him, at the impossible situation we were in. And if I say no, then we both lose everything and we both probably die because whoever's doing this won't stop until we're gone. He was right. I knew he was right, but it was still insane. One condition, I said. Name it. We don't pretend to be in love. We don't lie to each other. This is a business arrangement, nothing more. Agreed. He held out the ring. So, will you marry me to save both our lives and fortunes? I took the ring, slid it on my finger. Perfect fit? Of course it was. Yes, but we're doing this my way. We investigate, we find the killer, and we make sure they pay for what they did to our fathers. Deal. He extended his hand. We shook, sealing a marriage pact based on survival, money, and revenge. Not exactly the fairy tale ending little girls dream of, but it was real. It was honest, and it was all we had. The engagement was announced the next day. Manhattan society exploded. Bennett and Rothschild, the impossible alliance. Some called it romantic, others called it suspicious. My sister called it disgusting betrayal. Alexander's brother called it strategic mistake. But we didn't care. We had work to do. We met daily, his penthouse or mine, planning, investigating, sharing information. He showed me security footage from the night he was attacked. 3 men, professional, paid assassins, no faces visible, but one had distinctive tattoo on his hand. We tracked it, found the artist, found the client who'd paid for the tattoo. Trail led to an offshore account. Account traced back to Madison, my sister. She tried to kill you, I said, staring at the evidence. 5 years ago, she hired those men. Why? Because she knew. Somehow she knew about the merger plan, and she wanted to stop it before it happened. Alexander pulled up more files. And my brother, Marcus, hired someone to tamper with our father's medication. Heart attack drugs. Looked natural. Killed them both within 3 months of each other. They worked together. They're probably lovers, planning to marry each other, combine the inheritances that way. The wedding was planned for Halloween, 6 months from my father's death, 1 week before my 28th birthday. Dramatic timing, but appropriate. We were getting married on the anniversary of the night I saved Alexander's life. Poetic, or tragic, depending on how you looked at it. But Madison and Marcus had other plans. 1 week before the wedding, I was driving home from dress fitting. Same route I had taken 5 years ago on Park Avenue. Raining again, always raining on Halloween in New York. And then I felt it. Brakes failing. Car speeding up instead of slowing down. Someone had tampered with my car. Someone wanted me dead. I saw him, walking across the street, looking at his phone. Alexander, in the same spot where I had found him 5 years ago. History repeating, the universe being cruel, or maybe giving us one more chance. I screamed, laid on the horn. He looked up, saw the car coming, couldn't stop, too fast,
Too late. Hit him. Not hard. Maybe 15 miles per hour, but enough to knock him down. Enough to hurt him. Enough to make everything stop. Jumped out. Ran to him, and this time, we both knew. We both remembered. Same place, same rain, same impossible situation, but different. Because this time we knew each other. This time we were engaged. This time someone had tried to kill me and accidentally recreated the night we met.
Are you okay? My voice shaking. He sat up slowly, checking for injuries. Concussion maybe, nothing serious. Looked at me. Your brakes failed. Someone cut them. Marcus and Madison. Has to be. He stood, wincing. We're getting married tonight. What? Tonight. Right now. Before they try again. We make it legal, make it official, and then we end this. So we did. Courthouse wedding. 2 witnesses we trusted. Security guards, lawyers. Made it legal, made it binding. Signed papers that merged 2 empires worth billions. And then we went after my sister and his brother. The evidence was solid. Video footage of Madison meeting with the mechanic who'd tampered with my brakes. Financial records of payments from Marcus to the men who'd killed our fathers. Text messages between them planning everything. We handed it all to the FBI. They were arrested at midnight. Halloween night. Perfect timing. The trial was quick. Both were sentenced to life. Conspiracy to commit murder. 2 counts of first-degree murder. Multiple counts of attempted murder. Everything. Justice. Finally. Our fathers could rest. We could breathe. And the fortunes were ours. $500 million from my father, $800 million from his. Control of Bennett properties, control of Rothschild investments. Merger complete. We'd won. But winning came with complications. We were married now, legally, for real, bound together by contracts and strategy and survival, living together in my penthouse because his had too many memories, working together running merged companies, and slowly, impossibly, starting to actually like each other. You know what's strange? Alexander said one night. We were in the living room, 6 months into marriage, working late on merger documents. What? I actually enjoy spending time with you. I looked up. Is that so surprising? Yes. I married you to avoid being murdered and inheriting billions. Didn't expect to actually like my wife. Well, I saved your life twice. Once from assassins, once from my sister. That builds a bond. Twice? The car accident. I could have kept driving, could have left you there. But I stopped. Again. You always stop. It's my thing, apparently. He set down his papers, came to sit beside me. Sophia, I know this started as business arrangement, survival pact, but I think somewhere between investigating murders and merging companies and getting married to save our lives, I might have accidentally fallen in love with you. My heart stopped. What? I know, it wasn't part of the deal. We agreed no pretending, no lying. And I'm not lying. I genuinely, actually, impossibly love you. And I understand if you don't feel the same, if you want to keep this as business partnership, but I needed you to know. Alexander, you don't have to say anything. I just needed to be honest. I was going to say that I've been in love with you since the night at the Met, when you proposed a murder investigation marriage pact. Who does that? Who proposes survival over romance and makes it sound perfect? I laughed. Apparently you. He kissed me. First real kiss of our marriage. Turned out arranged marriages to solve murders and inherit billions could accidentally become love stories. Who knew? So now what? I asked. Now we live. We run our companies. We honor our father's legacy. We make sure Madison and Marcus rot in prison. And we figure out this whole being actually in love thing. I've never been in love before. Neither have I. We'll figure it out together. And we did. Slowly, carefully. learning each other beyond business strategies and murder investigations, discovering we actually had things in common. Both loved horror movies, both were terrible at cooking, both had complicated relationships with their families. Both carried guilt over their father's deaths. Both were learning to forgive themselves. Both were learning to trust that maybe something good could come from something so terrible. The first 3 months of actually being in love were strange. We'd been married for 6 months at that point, but only the last 3 counted as real. The first 3 had been survival mode. Planning, investigating, protecting each other from siblings who wanted us dead. Now, with Madison and Marcus behind bars, we could actually breathe, actually live, actually try to figure out what it meant to be married for love instead of strategy. I don't know how to do this, I admitted one night. We were in bed, my head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. Do what? Be a wife. Be in love. Be vulnerable with someone. I've spent my whole life being strategic, calculating every move, every word. Every relationship was transactional. Even this started as a transaction. Same. I've never let anyone close, never trusted anyone completely, always waiting for betrayal, for the knife in the back. He kissed the top of my head. But you saved my life, twice. That's not transaction. That's who you are. I thought about that. About stopping on Park Avenue 5 years ago. About stopping this year. Both times I could have kept driving. Both times I chose to help. Maybe I'm not as calculating as I thought. Or maybe you calculate differently. Maybe you calculate that human life is worth more than schedule, than convenience, than self-preservation. Is that what I did? Calculate your worth? No. You saw someone suffering and you stopped. Instinct. Heart. Not calculation at all. He was right. I'd never thought about stopping. Never weighed pros and cons. Just acted. Just helped. What does that say about me? That you're a better person than you think you are, than you were raised to be. Your father taught you business, strategy, how to win. But he didn't teach you that compassion. You came with that built in. My mother, maybe. She died when I was 6. I barely remember her, but I remember she was kind, always helping people. My father said it made her weak. It made her human, made her real, and you inherited that from her. I never connected it before. The stopping, the helping, the instinct to save instead of abandon, all from my mother. The part of me that wasn't William Bennett's daughter, the part that was someone else entirely. I wish I remembered her better. Tell me what you do remember. So I did. Told him about vague memories of warmth, of laughter, of bedtime stories, of feeling safe and loved in a way I never felt after she died. She used to volunteer at hospitals. That's actually how she died. Caught pneumonia from patients she was helping. Father said she sacrificed herself for stranger. Said it like it was stupid, like it was waste. But you don't think it was waste? No. I think she died being who she was. Helping. Like I stopped on Park Avenue being who I am. We can't help it. It's in us. Alexander was quiet for a moment. Then, my mother's the same way. Still alive, thank God, but she's always been the heart of our family. While my father built an empire, she built relationships, community, gave millions to charity, worked at soup kitchens. My father used to say she was embarrassment, too soft, too emotional. But she's the reason I'm not a complete sociopath. She taught me that money means nothing if you don't use it to help people. Is that why you agreed to marry me? To merge companies? To use combined resources for good? Partly. Also because I didn't want Marcus to get billions and use them for evil. But yes, I want to honor my mother's legacy.
My father's too, in his way, but mostly hers.
We lay there in the dark, talking about parents, about legacies, about what we wanted to build with the fortune we'd inherited through tragedy. $10 billion, I said. That's what we control now. Combined. More, actually. Market value of both companies is over $15 billion, plus liquid assets, investments, properties. We're looking at close to $20 billion in net worth. That's obscene. It is. No two people need that much money. So what do we do with it? We could start foundation, like Gates Foundation, focus on something meaningful. Education, healthcare, housing, all of it. We have enough for all of it. And that's what we did. Started the Bennett Rothschild Foundation. Announced it on New Year's Eve, 6 months after Madison and Marcus's arrests. Pledged $10 billion over 10 years to causes our mothers would have supported. Education for underprivileged kids, healthcare for uninsured, housing for homeless, food security, mental health services, everything. The announcement made front page of every major newspaper. Manhattan's youngest power couple pledges billions to charity. But it wasn't all altruism. We were also building business empire. Merging companies had created Giant, Bennett Rothschild Properties and Investments, largest private real estate and investment firm in North America. We had buildings in every major city, investment portfolios worth billions, clients who trusted us with their fortunes. And we were good at it, better together than either company had been apart. It's strange, Alexander said one day. We were in conference room, finishing meeting with the board of directors. What is? How well we work together. I thought it would be constant battle, fighting for control, competing. But it's not. Because we want same things, have same values, trust each other. Do you trust me? Really? I looked at him, my husband, my partner, the man I'd saved twice and married once and somehow fallen in love with despite everything. Yes, completely. Do you trust me? With my life. Literally. You've already saved it twice. But trust was about to be tested, because 3 months after foundation announcement, we discovered something that changed everything we thought we knew. Victoria, my best friend and now our head of legal, called me into her office. Sophia, we have a problem. What kind of problem? She showed me documents, old ones from 30 years ago, agreement between our fathers, the merger clause we knew about. But there was more. A clause we hadn't seen, a clause that had been hidden. What am I looking at? Insurance policy. If either you or Alexander died before producing heir, the entire fortune would go to the surviving spouse. Not to siblings, not to charity, to spouse. I felt cold. So if Alexander died, you'd get everything. All 20 billion? And vice versa. But we're both alive, so this doesn't matter. It matters because someone else knows about it, someone who might think they could manipulate situation. Look at this. She showed me more documents, life insurance policies, massive ones, taken out on both of us, recently, after wedding, $500 million each. Beneficiary, a shell corporation owned by Marcus, from prison. How was he taken out insurance policies from prison? He has lawyer, power of attorney. He's been making moves. And Sophia? There's more. Madison's been moved from maximum security to medium. Someone pulled strings, someone with money and power. Someone who wants her out. Someone who wants both of them out to finish what they started. I called Alexander immediately. We have problem. Meet me at home, now. He was there in 20 minutes. I showed him everything, watched his face go from confusion to understanding to rage. They're not done. They're still trying to kill us. Not just kill us. They want the money, all of it. They learned about the spousal clause. If one of us dies, the other inherits everything. Then they kill the survivor, take it all. Through their lawyers, through proxy, through hired killers. We need protection, real protection, not just bodyguards. We need FBI involved again. But before we could call FBI, something else happened. Package arrived, delivered to penthouse, no return address. Inside, photos of us, hundreds of them, taken over past 6 months, at home, at office, at restaurants, at foundation events. We were being watched, constantly, by professionals. And with photos came a note, typed. Simple. You should have let him die on Park Avenue. Now you both will. Madison wrote this, I said, handshaking. How do you know? The phrasing, should have let him die. She always resented that I saved you, said I was traitor for helping Rothschild. Even before we knew about the merger clause, she would have driven past, would have let you bleed out. She can't understand why I didn't. She's insane. They both are. Insane with access to hired killers and apparently ability to orchestrate from prison. We called the FBI. They came immediately, set up surveillance, protection detail, started investigating Marcus and Madison's communications, discovered they'd been using encrypted apps, communicating through their lawyers, planning, coordinating, hiring people on the outside to finish the job. They've contracted a professional hit team, FBI agent told us. 3 people, former military, expensive, very good at what they do. We're tracking them, but they're careful. You need to go into hiding, both of you, until we can neutralize the threat. Hiding? We have companies to run, foundation to manage. We can't just disappear. You can and you will, unless you want to die. These aren't amateurs. These are professionals, best money can buy. And your siblings have access to millions through various accounts we're still trying to freeze. How long? Could be weeks, could be months. However long it takes to find the hit team and stop them. So we went into hiding. Safe house in upstate New York, middle of nowhere, FBI protection around the clock, no phones, no internet, no contact with the outside world except through FBI. It was prison. Comfortable prison, but prison nonetheless. This is what our lives have become, I said. First night in the safe house, hiding from my own sister while she tries to have me murdered for money. Not just money, $20 billion. People have started wars for less. Is it worth it? All this? The fortune, the company, the power? Is it worth living like this?
Alexander pulled me close. You're worth it. We're worth it. And we're not going to let them win. We're going to survive this, together, like we've survived everything else. But for how long? How long do we run? How long do we hide? They're never going to stop. Not as long as they're alive. Not as long as there's money to gain. Then we make sure they never get out, ever. We use every legal resource we have, every lawyer, every connection. We make sure they die in prison. 3 weeks in hiding, 3 weeks of nothing but each other. No distractions, no work, no obligations, just us. In the strange way, it was a gift. Forced us to actually be together, really know each other. We talked about everything. Childhoods, dreams, fears, what we wanted from life, beyond money and power and revenge. I want kids, I admitted one night. Eventually, not now, not while we're being hunted, but someday. I want to give them the childhood I didn't have. A mother who's present, father who's present, love, safety, normalcy. I want that too. Want to be better father than mine was. Want to actually be there, not just provider, actually present, actually loving. Do you think we can? Give them normal life? With all this money and all this danger? We'll find way. We'll protect them, like our mothers would have protected us if they had had chance. 4 weeks in, FBI called. They'd found the hit team, all 3, caught them in Newark, planning infiltration of Safe House. They had full equipment, weapons, plans, everything. And they'd flipped, agreed to testify against Madison and Marcus in exchange for reduced sentences. With their testimony, additional charges were filed. Conspiracy to commit murder, again, while already in prison. This time, no possibility of parole, ever. They'd die behind bars. It's over, the FBI agent told us. You can go home, resume your lives. They're never getting out, never threatening you again. It's done. We went back to Manhattan, back to the penthouse, back to work. But something had changed. 3 weeks of forced proximity, of talking, of learning each other, of admitting we wanted future together. Real future, with kids and normalcy and love. We weren't just surviving anymore. We were actually living.
I have a confession, Alexander said, first night back home. We were on the balcony, looking out at Manhattan skyline. What? I'm glad your brakes failed. I mean, not glad you were in danger, but glad it brought us back to that spot, to where we first met, to where it all started, because it gave us a chance to really see each other, really connect, not as business partners or strategic allies, but as people who'd shared something impossible, something that bonded us forever. I'm glad too. Glad I hit you with my car, which is an insane thing to say, but it's true. If I hadn't, we might have gone through with marriages as pure business arrangement, might never have fallen in love. So we're both grateful for attempted murder and vehicular assault. Apparently that's our love story. Attempted murder, actual assault, more attempted murder, and somehow love. We stood there laughing at the absurdity, at the impossibility, at the fact that we'd found love through all of this. When do you want to have kids? He asked. Not yet. Want to enjoy being married first. Want to build a foundation, make an impact, honor our parents' memories. But eventually, maybe in 2 or 3 years, I can wait. Have all the time in world now. Madison and Marcus are gone. The threat is neutralized. We're free. Actually free. For the first time in our lives.
6 months later, we renewed vows. Real ceremony this time, not courthouse rush to avoid assassination. Actual wedding. At Plaza, 500 guests, both our mothers there. His alive, mine there in spirit. Victoria as maid of honor, Alexander's best friend from college as best man. Flowers, music, vows we actually meant. I promise to stop for you, always. In rain or shine, in danger or safety, when you need me, I'll be there. I promise to wait for you, to trust you, to love you, through murder investigations and car accidents and siblings who try to kill us, through everything. Reception was at our favorite restaurant, one where we'd had first real date after deciding to actually try to fall in love. Speeches were given, stories told. Victoria told story of how I'd called her night of will reading. She said, I have to marry billionaire I saved 5 years ago or lose $500 million. And I said, that's either most romantic thing I've ever heard or most messed up. Turns out it was both, but mostly romantic because look at them now. Actually in love, actually happy, actually building something beautiful from something that started as blackmail and survival. Alexander's mother gave speech too. When Alexander told me he was marrying Bennett's daughter, I thought he'd lost his mind. Our families hated each other for decades. But then I met Sophia, and I understood. She's like me. Compassionate, kind, stops to help people even when it's inconvenient, even when it's dangerous. She saved my son's life twice. Once from assassins, once from loveless existence. I couldn't ask for better daughter-in-law. Halloween 2025. 1 year after car accident, 2 years after courthouse wedding, 6 years after I first saved his life. We went back to Park Avenue. To the spot. Our spot, where everything began. Where blood mixed with rain and I made choice that changed everything. This is where you almost died, I said. Twice. This is where you saved me. Twice. This is where we became us. This is where fate decided to stop being subtle and just hit us overhead. Literally. We stood in the rain, always raining on Halloween in New York, watching cars pass, thinking about all the what-ifs. What if I hadn't stopped that first night? What if he died? What if I hadn't hit him with my car? What if Madison and Marcus had succeeded? What if we'd never fallen in love? So many what-ifs, so many ways this could have gone wrong. But it didn't go wrong, Alexander said, reading my mind. We're here, alive, together, in love, running companies, building foundation, making difference, about to change world with $20 billion and lot of compassion. All because you stopped. All because you cared. All because you chose to be person your mother raised you to be. And because you chose to trust me, to marry me, to fall in love with me despite everything. Easiest choice I ever made.
We kissed in the rain, on the same spot where 6 years ago I'd knelt beside bleeding stranger and held his hand, where 5 years ago his heart had stopped and paramedics had revived him, where 1 year ago I'd accidentally hit him with my car and we'd realized we were meant to be together. This spot, this sacred, bloody, impossible spot, was ours. Our beginning, our story, our reminder that sometimes the worst moments lead to the best outcomes. Sometimes tragedy leads to love. Sometimes stopping for a stranger changes everything. Thank you, he said. For what? For stopping. For saving me. For hitting me with your car. For marrying me. For loving me. For all of it. Thank you for being worth saving, for being worth loving, for being the impossibly perfect ending to this insane story. Ending? We're just beginning. He was right. This wasn't ending. This was beginning. Real beginning. Of life we'd chosen instead of life we'd been inherited. Of love we'd built instead of love we'd been forced into. Of a future we'd create instead of a future that had been planned for us. We had $20 billion. We had a foundation that would change millions of lives. We had companies that employed thousands. We had each other. We had a love that had survived attempted murder, actual murder, car accidents, evil siblings, and billion-dollar inheritance schemes. If we could survive all that, we could survive anything.
Let's go home, I said. To our real home, the one we chose, the one we built, the one that's ours. We walked back to the car. Different car now. New Mercedes with brakes that actually worked. Drove through Manhattan in the rain, through streets where both of us had been almost killed, through city that had been our prison and was now our kingdom. Back to penthouse, back to bed, back to each other. And somewhere in heaven or wherever, I like to think our fathers were watching the children they tried to manipulate into loveless marriage instead find real love. Watching the fortune they'd built through ruthless business get used for good. Watching the legacy they'd left become something better than they'd ever imagined. I hope they were proud. I hope they understood. I hope they knew that their deaths, as tragic as they were, had led to something beautiful, something real, something worth all the pain. I love you, Alexander said, as we lay in bed. Safe, together, finally, permanently safe. I love you too. Even though you almost died on me, twice. I'll try not to make it 3 times. Please do. I'm running out of ways to dramatically save your life. What about I save yours next time? Even things out. Deal. Next time someone tries to kill us, it's your turn to stop the car. We fell asleep laughing at the absurdity, at the impossibility, at the fact that we could joke about attempted murder because we'd survived it, together, always together. And that was how our story ended. Or rather, how it began, because this wasn't ending. This was everything we'd fought for, everything we'd survived for, everything we'd loved for. And it was perfect, not despite the tragedy, but because of it, because of every terrible thing that led us here, to this moment, to this love, to this life, together, finally, beautifully, impossibly together.